Alright, boiling or baking, which is more healthy? Now, if you read the Perfect Health Diet, I've gotten to page about 227, where they talk about how there's a difference in the processing. Okay, I found this very interesting. The wheat germ agglutinin can be destroyed by boiling in water, but is unaffected by dry heat. See, a lot of the problem with dry heat and baking is that the toxins will stay on the food. All right, they just won't get really dealt with. They just kind of get pressed into the food. And when you're dealing with highly processed foods, those are dealing with chemicals and a lot of dry heats. Processed food makers want to keep the foods dry because dryness leads to preservation. And then on top of that, they add the unhealthy fats to preserve, and also added extracts from sugar to ward off some pathogens, because extracts of sugar tend to kill like yeast. You try to put yeast in a container full of just processed extracted sugar, and they don't survive for very long. All right, and there've been a lot of tests done with animals on different food preparations. Okay, and it shows that a lot of these animals don't do so well on certain diets, on a lot of the processed foods, pretty much, which are going to involve more of the dry heat. And then we're talking about the difference between having a factory make your food or making your food at home. Okay, you have more opportunities to boil your food at home, or I do it in my car, and that's gonna keep the food a little safer to eat, because water is a regulator. Okay, 212 is the boiling point, and it's harder to go much above that until you dehydrate all the water away. It's harder. The water stabilizes the heat temperatures, whereas in dry heats they can go as high as you want. Okay, and it's not quite as healthy. All right, so I've noticed too, and the reason I'm bringing this video up as a point is because I've noticed boiling potatoes and then pulling them out of that water, the potatoes dry to the point where it seems like I almost baked them. All right, they're just, it's the high heat and it's evaporating off, but the taste is the same. All right, because I baked potatoes in an oven before, and then I've boiled them, and they're pretty much the same. All right. Yeah, you got the nutrients that may run off into the water. You see that. So you get a little sludge in the water after baking, or after boiling. But you could drink that. All right, that's your drink. Maybe add a little spice like parsley, and you could drink it. But boiling is the great temperature regulator. You don't have to worry about a certain side getting burnt. All right, the side that the food is laying on, whatever, like you have a grill pattern, those extra burnt parts are not safe. There is the problem with when you boil water. Sometimes cooking things in boiled water, they can stick to the bottom. I think that's it's about technique with that, and that it's probably best to boil the water first and then add the ingredients maybe slowly. Like I was boiling up some cornmeal, and it can burn at the bottom if I add it too fast, or if the water's too cool, and then I add the cornmeal, and then have the heat running, it'll burn at the bottom because it's just sitting there kind of dried. I don't know, maybe soaking it ahead of time can help, but it's certainly better than baking. You can boil chicken, and it's just as good as baking it, and you can use that chicken water to cook some barley afterward. All right, So I think it's better to boil.